talk about that exact topic of buying soccer right now in April. We're in April 2022 recording this, and
Hmm.
I think you and I have both been doing this I mean, I've been doing it for over a year. Um, and there are some guys that I can hit on that I'm like waiting for in particular to pan out. Some a little bit riskier than others. But I'd like to get your take on some of the guys that I'll talk through real quick. Some of them we've already mentioned on the show, others we really haven't.
Yeah.
But this is going to be helpful selfishly to me, but also I think like very, very helpful to the audience to get your
Oh
take.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so basically, so one guy is Ansu Fati.
Yeah.
I bought him. I invested. I would say a pretty significant amount in him
Hmm.
uh, over a year ago, knowing he was injured, knowing that he had a long way back, but
Hmm.
anticipating that at age 18 in Barcelona, uh, basically a goal scoring machine, that he would star on the Spanish national team in the 2022 World Cup and that he would eventually star for FC Barcelona again. And ironically, we're at Fati comeback time, maybe number 5. He's already tried to come back multiple times and had other nagging injuries from his after his major knee surgeries. But I am holding currently like 3 of his graded mega cracks 2019 rookies. Those are probably the biggest. And I've also started to look again. There are some Fati autos that are circulating. His rookie autos, I think, are way too risky, but there are some second year autos in some of the more recognizable Panini sets that I'm just interested in your take on maybe a rejuvenated Ansu Fati market for the World Cup.
Yeah. I bought a Fati card, a PSA 10 Fati Tops Chrome, I believe, at the National last year. I actually bought it the first day I was there. I saw it in a case and I was like, yeah, it's a pretty good price. And I was like, hey, would you take 180 for it? And the guy was like, yeah. And so I walked away day one being like, okay, that's most of my budget for the week, you know? So, uh, and, but with Fati specifically, I'm still in on him. But I would say that the I'm not as bullish as I was. Let's just put it that way, because of all the nagging injuries, it's just like I feel like it's getting harder and harder for him to come in. And with Barcelona really not being the Barcelona we're used to right now, I think it's I I don't know if Fati actually ends up staying. I'm not 100% on that, but like there's a lot of guys that I like more than Fati right now, even though I have Fati in my collection. Um, but I think he obviously has room to run. Very talented kid, and the World Cup will be good. It'll be big for him to have a display internationally on the World Cup level. And it'll be good for not only him, but it'll be also good for Barcelona. I'm just really not sure what Barcelona is going to do right now. It seems like they're still trying to figure out what's next. They're in the post Messi era now, and I don't feel like they've figured out exactly what that's going to look like. For like the last 20 years, they've basically known exactly what they were going to do, and then before that, they had Ronaldinho. They brought in at the same around the same era. They had Zlatan and some other huge names. And now it's just like, okay, we've got this 18-year-old that just keeps getting hurt, and
Yeah.
um, it's interesting. I think the Barcelona team in general is interesting, and I think Fati is also a piece of that because it seems like the entire team should be hyped, and the entire team is kind of not where they're supposed to be. I feel like so
Yeah, and I'm trying to
that's
make
affecting not only him but also Dest and some other players. Like it's just, I mean, it's a conundrum right now with the Barca.
Yeah, and if you haven't listened to earlier episodes of the Sports Card Strategy Show, I mean, I have invested in some Pedri autos. I've invested in, I'm big on Gavi. I haven't bought
Did you
any of
get a
his
Gavi
cards
card?
yet because I haven't found a Gavi card yet that I want to invest in because he's so new. So I'm still sort of waiting to. I've been searching for a Gavi card, but like I have, I have invested in like I'll show you guys in a second, but like I have Kendall's convinced me to buy some Gio Reyna.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about my new love affair for Caden Clark. There's all these different guys. I'm debating on some Pulisic cards. So it's not just Fati. It's just that Fati, like this, what I wanted to bring to the audience's attention is like this card right here, for example, a 2020 Topps Merlin Chrome Fati Refractor Auto normally would be like $399.95, like under $400. Buy it now. I actually did make an offer for this card at $350 and it was declined. So that sort of tells me a few things. Number one, the Fati market could be heating back up again just because he is about to return again. Number two, like if he wasn't injured, I think this card would be like, if for whatever reason, like his injuries weren't as serious or whatever, like this card would be a steal, I believe, at this price.
Yeah.
I just think he's definitely like a controversial guy just because if he wasn't injured, he like undoubtedly in my mind is like number one or number two on everyone's list. Like Fati is like the next, like I think he's up there with Mbappe based on what I saw, but then he got injured and now it's sort of like, well, is this kid ever going to be even a shell of what we thought he could be kind of thing? And so I just kind of wanted to, I wanted to use this as one example of kind of your baseball analogy a minute ago about have a gut feeling on a guy and there's some markers coming up and you really believe, then I think this could be a card that could pay off at this price potentially, but it definitely is a huge risk. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a huge risk. So
yeah, I think Fati specific. I mean, if you would have like Paul, if you would have asked me 12 months ago, I'd have been all in on Fati, and I would have told you buy that card. It's going to be worth a bazillion dollars.
Yeah,
and I would have been like, yes, yes, yes. I mean, the guy's scoring. I mean, he's got 14 goals and 36 appearances. That's almost a half goal
ridiculous.
a game.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
That's ridiculous.
You can,
and he's been halfway hurt most of those times.
Yeah.
I mean, he's even got he's got a goal and 4 caps for the national team. So that, I mean, that's a quarter goal a game. Like that's nice. His expected goal percentage, I'm sure, is really high. His X goal in terms of his analytics and stuff. And so this guy's probably going to be, if he's on the field, that level. But that sentence, if he's on the field, is important. And unfortunately, the other two guys that we were really high on a couple of months ago also can't stay on the field. We've got Gio hurt himself in the first minute of the game this weekend, and Caden Clark can't get minutes because he can't get healthy.
So it's looking to be like more just waiting, and just holding and just like I think that the moment will pay off for all three of those guys. Right. But it's just like you have to be patient and you have to be ready to sell, and then just know that if you do sell prematurely, you better have a good strategic reason for doing that because you're going to take a big loss, and that their chances are there will be moments for these guys, and they're all so young. They're all
under 20, all three of them.
They're all, and we are prospecting, so it's super young. Now another guy that fits that mold two more guys that fit that mold just real quick. One is Yunus Musah. We've talked about him before. I still love him. I'm just noticing that there are some. You can see I'm winning a couple bids with less than 12 hours left on a couple of these cards, and they are from the 2021 Immaculate Soccer set, and they're each jersey autos numbered to 99. Current highest bids are both under $100, and I'm just wondering, like, they each have more than 10 bids on them, so more than likely these are going to be $250 winning bids, and that's not cheap. So, like, what's your advice on kind of leading up to the end of an eBay auction? with a player like Yunus Musah and cards like these, what kind of advice would you give the audience, I guess, on both Musah and just kind of in these situations in eBay auctions from your experience?
Yeah, I love these immaculate patches. I think I've seen a bunch of them go. I've seen a bunch of Tim Weah ones go for really nice prices. It seems like there's a bunch of people that are making plays for these now. 6 months ago, nobody was dealing in immaculate patch autos, and it was crazy how cheap you could get them for a couple of Americans. But this is potentially a card that's going to sell really well. I mean, out of the four, if you've got Fati, Gio, Caden, and Musah, Musah is the most healthy. You know? And so right now, it might just be a guy like that. You're like, okay, for sure, he's going to play in Nations League this summer. You know, and then so he's also going to gain some hype in this summer, and then he's also going to gain some hype with the World Cup. So for this guy specifically, I would say it's probably going to end up being around 250, a little bit like what you said. What I like to do is if I'm interested in a card in an eBay auction, but before 24 hours left on a card, I don't make any bids. So like I'll make a bid over 24 hours, you know, maybe a couple of days out, just to know that I'm interested. So it's in my watch list per se, you know, so I get notifications if somebody outbids me, something like that. But inside of 24 hours, I don't make any bids, even if I'm losing, because I don't want to give another person a chance to say, you know, I'll drive this price up a little bit more. Oh, I'll drive this price up a little bit more. And so typically I wait within 5 minutes, and then no matter what I'm doing, what I usually do is I'm like, yeah, I have to go to the bathroom anywhere I'm at. And I just sit in the stall and I just watch this auction for 5 minutes and make sure. And typically with about 10 to 15 seconds left, I put my highest bid I'm comfortable with. And if I lose it, I lose it, you know, but at least I
Yeah.
had a chance.
Yeah, I think that's a modified strategy to mine, and it's a little bit better than what I do. I've definitely learned, and I'm glad we're having this conversation because it is something I think that most sports card content creators fail to talk about, is this eBay bidding strategy. And I've learned similarly that you are kind of bidding against yourself if you if you continuously bid on an auction outside of like maybe 2 hours left. You know, I think that like you could even go as close as 5 minutes. I think you're absolutely right. I think that like anything, especially anything outside of a day, you're like really, really bidding against yourself because you are giving all these other people the opportunity to basically have to bid against you. And so I think that the only, like, I've lost auctions on tons of cards that I've wanted with a strategy other than that. And I've probably like artificially driven up the price with other people doing the same thing.
Right.
I don't think that that's bad necessarily for the card market because ultimately you are getting somebody paying for these sales. But I do think that like to actually get your best chance at a bargain, so to say, it would be to do exactly what you said, Kendall, which is to like wait until the last minute you can possibly wait. My challenge is living in Spain. Most of these auctions end while I'm asleep. And so my modified strategy is I typically will say, all right, this is the highest I am willing to pay. I am overpaying if I go any higher than this. And I will just go there, maybe add a few cents or something like that at the end of it, $1 or whatever, so that I don't get outbid by just a stupid amount. But yeah, I'm kind of out of the running. So yeah, with these Musah cards, I am a big fan of them. I'm debating, you know, how much money to put into him. I moved out of some other base stuff, but I still love him. And so now I'm looking at what cards are
Mm-hmm.
have the potential to actually go quite a bit higher based on his performance. The last guy I just wanted to mention, you can see, well, this is not the last guy, but you can see I've got Mike Gesicki in here. Shout out to our guy, Andy Case from Football Card Quest, who is all over Mike Gesicki.
Yeah, he
I'm
was.
stopping at $10.50 on Mike Gesicki's rookie ticket. It's just not really a card that I want to own, to be honest. So I'm just going to stop. No offense to Andy. He's probably right on him. But the guy I wanted to talk about is Joao Felix because he's super young. There seems to have been a lot of hype around him maybe a couple years ago when he came into La Liga.
Yeah.
But he's seems to have like fallen off of everyone's radar in terms of like a soccer card investment. I don't know if that's because Atletico de Madrid hasn't really done anything in the last couple years, or I don't know if that's because Joao Felix hasn't really done anything of note. I mean, he's on Portugal's national team, so in theory, he should be able to pair up with some pretty darn good players and do some things. But like, what's your take on this guy? Because he's not someone that we've talked about on the show, and he just barely made it into the soccer card rankings at nooffseason.com.
Yeah, he's not a guy that's in my top 5. We'll just put it that way. But he is a guy that's in my top 15 in terms of investments that I'm making. I think he's getting overshadowed in a couple of different areas. And I don't think that's uncommon. It's weird because he's a little bit older than some of the guys that are just popping off right now. So, for instance, he's ancient at 22 years old, and so and he has a guy that had the limelight and it's kind of gone away from it for a little bit, but he's coming back and he's scoring for a Portugal team that's going to be really interesting this year. I'm sure he's going to get a lot of media hype, but it's going to be secondary media hype, and everybody knows the main Portugal star in this World Cup is going to be Cristiano Ronaldo. Every game they're going to talk about Ronaldo. They're Ronaldo. But Felix does have an opportunity to, if he plays well and everybody is talking about Ronaldo, there's going to be no way you can avoid talking about him. I mean, he's a guy that's definitely stepping in place to be the next guy there for Portugal. I mean, he's got other players around him. There are several others. But with Joao Felix, like, I wished he didn't go to Atletico, actually, because Atleti, for some reason, people go to Atleti and then just lose value, I think, to me. Not in soccer in general, like not actual value, but I'm talking like in card value. Like when Griezmann went back there, I felt like his cards dropped. When any of the other guys that have gone to Atletico that I was like really excited about, I feel like their cards have dropped. For instance, I saw a media thing come out a couple of months ago that Haaland may end up going to. Atleti has had conversations about bringing him in, and I was just like, I mean, I wish he had gone. Like, I hope that does not happen because as much as that would be really great for his career and to be playing in a top league in Spain, Atleti might end up being the top team there soon. Like the other two teams are kind of faltering in terms of they don't have their guy other than Junior is definitely very good. And I'm not trying to say that Real Madrid is in question, but Barcelona definitely has some questions. And Atleti definitely has a time to step in to being more of a dominant player in La Liga than they have been previously. And although they have been very, very good and top shelf, they're definitely that top 3 team in La Liga, but they're definitely still 3. Maybe they have a chance to move up in that ranking in the next couple of years. But right now, with Joao Felix, I wish he was just on a different team.
Yeah.
Because it's like nobody gets super excited about Atleti except for like the 5 kids in the back room that are like, and everyone's like, yeah, those crazy Atleti fans. Like even
Yeah,
when I went to Madrid 2 years ago, we literally landed at the airport and I'm sure you know this, but in Madrid, the Atleti Stadium is actually close to the airport. And so you drive by it, or we did in particular, to the place we were going. We were like staying south of Spain, and it's a little bit outside of town. Like it's a little bit Southsider type feel. The stadium is kind of just out in the open. Like but then I had to take like 30 trains to get to the Bernabeu. And when I got there, I was like, holy cow, this is definitely the team everybody cares about here. Like even people in Madrid, they were like, they didn't even consider Atleti like the team that's in their city. Yeah. And I'm just like, they've always been number 2, and it's like, it's just, I still feel like that is playing on some things as well. So unfortunately, Joao Felix is in my top 15 because of those things, even though in terms of performance, in terms of skill and ability, I mean, he's probably way up there. But I think due to some other media factors, which we've seen affect card values in every sport, not every time is the best player the most valuable card. And so sometimes it has a lot to do with their media hype and what team they're on and a lot of that kind of stuff. So
yeah. And there's like at least 5 or 6 other guys that I want to dig into, but Kendall is also the host of the Soccer Card Strategy Show on the nooffseason.com sports card content network. So we'll get into more of that on an upcoming episode of the Soccer Card Strategy Show. But thank you so much for being on the show. Paul, you were awesome. Kendall, you were great as always. I'm super excited that we're building this community, and thanks to both of you for creating content with me, and thanks everybody for watching and listening to the Sports Card Strategy Show. We're going to have more of both of these guys coming up as part of the nooffseason.com content network. And just a quick reminder that check out the sports card investment report at nooffseason.com. You can save 20% at checkout if you use the promo code nooffseason. And special thanks to marketmoversapp.com by Sports Card Investor. You can actually get your first month for $1, only $1 by using the promo code nooffseason, all lowercase there. We're about to run out of time. Thanks everybody and have a great day.